should be a day of rest, but we've not shot for about 3 or 4 weeks. I've not seen my good friend, so we thought we'll have a little catch up and just talk about what's been happening in the world of football. It is the off season, but there are a few things happening. So first of all, Ois, how are you, sir?
I'm good at Europe. Forgot my headset at work. Apologies. But doing well. Peak of summer now, or getting very quickly to the peak. So it's incredibly hot. But doing good, settling into the new job. Hopefully looking to move in the next couple of months. Family's actually flying to the UK in the early hours. I'll be staying behind, unfortunately, on my Jack Jones, as a wise man once said. Yeah, 7 weeks on my own in Dubai. Careful, are you? Careful.
Lock up your daughters. Well, better not say that. Does your wife watch this?
Thankfully,
Oh,
she
right.
doesn't,
Okay.
so we're all right.
Right. Okay. Good to hear that all is well. What is the temperature anyway? Is it in the 40s now? Is that where you're at?
I rarely check a Ayub. You just get a sense normally when you're in the. I mean, Friday evening we went to the beach just for a bit of a chill, and even at 9:30 p.m. you're finding yourself with beads of sweat rolling down your face. So it's getting really hot and humid, and August will be obviously unbearable. It gets past 50. What's it like in the UK though? I heard it's been decent, although the odd little grey day as well.
It's sort of mixed bag. I mean, tomorrow's actually going to be in the high 20s again, so it's going to be a nice little hot spell again for the next few days. And that's the beauty of England. Everybody criticizes England, but I think in a sense, this is really what you want. You have a hot spell, and then it just cools down a little bit. Everybody gets back to normal, and then there's a hot spell. So you appreciate the hot spells. I think obviously I've been to your neck of the woods around this time, and my goodness me, it's scorching, it's sizzling. It's all right as a holiday maker. I'm not sure whether I'd like to live
Yeah,
in a country where the temperature is that extreme.
yeah.
Uh, but it is what it is. It is what it is. Okay, let's crack on. It is the off season. I mean, there's not much to talk about, but there are talking points. I mean, we'll talk about sort of signings. I mean, one team that's been really active, and it's the sort of thing that teams that win the league and teams that want to perhaps create a legacy do. What they do is rather than rest on their laurels, they go out and sign good players. So Liverpool have certainly signed some good players. But is there anything else or that's taken your fancy in terms of signings?
Yeah, I think there's a number of factors here, you in terms of I don't know if you've been following the stories, variables, and I'm interested to hear your quick thoughts on Leeds and where they stand. But I think there's a few things happening right now, which is slightly muddying the waters. You've got obviously the Club World Cup taking place, so that's slightly changing things in terms of actual football taking place and perhaps certain deals taking a little bit more time to get over the line. Certain clubs' financial accounting year starting from 1st of July. So there's that in
Yeah,
the mix in terms of timing of announcements and what have you. So there's that. And I believe some of the players are slowly returning to their respective clubs. So you expect now for that to get into kind of full flow. I know there was also a little bit of a punctuated stop start with the transfer window as well in preparation for the Club World Cup. So there's been a few changes, haven't there? Most clubs would like to do their business early, but it takes more than one party just to get a deal over the line. You expect this to go perhaps deep into the August transfer window. I don't know exactly when the transfer window ends this year, but you alluded to it there, you in terms of Liverpool, strong business. Obviously, after having lost Trent Alexander-Arnold to Real Madrid, who's played in the Club World Cup for Real Madrid, Liverpool have been very efficient, haven't they? A lot of rumours about Kirkez and Frimpong in the early part of the summer, and they've boxed those off. Frimpong quite early, Kirkez just a few days ago. But the big one was Florian Wirtz, the most premier midfielder, I would say, available in Europe. Germany thinks very highly of this midfielder, a top player. Again, most sought after midfielder available in terms of this summer, and Liverpool have nabbed him for the best part of 115 plus, I believe. Incredible signing for them. You'll note that in kind of back-to-back years or in previous years, they've come close to Jude Bellingham, obviously who opted for Real Madrid, Caicedo, where they had essentially the player turned them down in favour of Chelsea. And now they've landed again a potential superstar. It'll be interesting to see where he plays, but I think it's incredible business from Liverpool. I think he'll be top tier. He is top tier. You think about some of the other clubs that were in for him. Bayern Munich, Manchester City, just to name a few. There was even some talk about um, Alonso, given that he'd just moved on to Real Madrid to manage them. So Liverpool, huge fillip for them. There's still some talk about Isak. I mean, can you imagine if they were to land Alexander Isak? They would be strong favourites, I think, to retain their Premier League title if they manage to land that. They've made a few good sales as well, I should say. So I think in terms of preparation, some of the noises that you still hear about perhaps Isak, perhaps Gehi from Palace, that it really does bode well. It'll be interesting to see who they lose. Them talk about obviously Harvey Elliott, who played well yesterday in the under 21s finals. We had a good competition. Some talk about him perhaps moving on, but it'll just be about whether or not they lose Diaz. Nunes may well move on, and it'll be quite a nice little makeover, let's say, of that Liverpool squad. Like you said, the strong get stronger. There's been nothing else that's really, in a sense, taken my let's say, nothing by surprise. I'll let you speak to that a little bit. Obviously, some rejected bids of Manchester United for Mbeumo. It looks like they'll get their man in the end, perhaps. Obviously, they've landed Cunha already. Arsenal, it's pretty expected what their business will be. I think they will land Sesko in the end. Zubimendi, who's a top midfielder, they've obviously closed that deal. I think it's just a case of announcing it post July. So I think in terms of the big clubs, nothing really that's I guess out of the ordinary. I think Wirtz is the big one. I think Kirkers is a lovely signing as well in terms of exactly strengthening where they need to. It'll be interesting. I think the Isak one for me is definitely one to keep an eye on if that does gain some legs, let's say that story, and if somebody does come in for him. And I think the other one, just very quickly, I was talking about it with my brothers before I hand the floor to you, is I'm a big fan still, is of Ollie Watkins. Villa need to sell. I think Villa will sell Ollie Watkins. Maybe he could still be an Arsenal player if Arsenal don't land their first choice targets. But I wouldn't be surprised if Manchester United perhaps get in the running for him as well. They need a striker. They've obviously got Cunha. If they land Mbeumo, can you imagine if they get Watkins? I mean, that's now a decent strike force. Yes, Gyökeres could be the option there as well from Sporting Lisbon. But I think given that Villa need to raise funds, I wouldn't be surprised if one of the big clubs take a look at Watkins, perhaps for even 30 million, and think, that's shrewd business, perhaps just to pick up who is essentially kind of England's number two striker, so to speak. So, yeah, nothing out of the ordinary for me, other than obviously the Florian Wirtz signing. I mean, that's a superstar signing. Obviously, there's been a few managerial changes as well. Obviously, Brentford with the merry-go-round with Thomas Frank taking charge of Spurs. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I expect business to start to pick up as this Club World Cup subsides, let's say, or comes to its culmination. I do expect a few big signings. I think the big one is in terms of in the Premier League is does Isak move on? Is that something is that something that's going to take place? What's your hunch? Do you think he stays, or do you think that could still gather some steam? Let's say as August rumbles on.
Uh, it looks as if he'll want to move. I've just got this feeling he's going to move Isak. Uh, I think his preferred destination is Liverpool. I'm pretty certain that seems to be the talk. And in this day and age, it tends to happen. I think if a top player has earmarked a certain club, in the end, it turns out that really that's where he's going to end up. So just going back to Liverpool and the signings that they've made, they're fantastic, absolutely fantastic. I mean, you've talked obviously about the German midfield. I mean, that's a stellar signing. That's a box office signing. It looks frightening. I mean, they've got I think the defender from Palace, uh,
Mhm.
as well, who I think will be a tremendous asset as well. So really, if they can get that over the line and Isak, that, to be honest, will be a fantastic, one of the best transfer windows I can think of. If that's what they end up with, uh, you might as well write it down. Liverpool have won the league. And in fact, I would sort of say they'll be serious contenders for the Champions League. In fact, every cup that is going, that is a phenomenal side. That's a frightening side because there's quality, there's class. I mean, we've talked about it on a previous show. Obviously, the fact that they kept Salah, and Van Dijk. Now we've lost Trent Arnold, and I certainly said that of the three, if they had to lose one, that's the one that I think they could afford to lose. So it's been a wonderful, wonderful summer for them. I just can't wait. My sort of fear is when they play us because it's going to be a damn good battering. And just talking about Leeds, and I can talk about them now. We are a Premier League club, so we've done a couple of signings. We've bought this Slovenian centre back, all school centre back. Decent signing. I didn't know much about him, but looking at his record, he's a solid, solid addition. We've bought this striker centre forward. He has played for Germany. He's not scored a goal for Germany. He's been sort of hit and miss over the last 2 or 3 years. So I presume it's a squad addition, but we need to get into the market. There was a player, Diarra, who played for Senegal against England, scored a goal against England as well, that we'd put in a bid of about 23 million. We've been gazumped by Sunderland. And that was always my fear. I mean, I said it on a tweet that I did when Sunderland won promotion, that I would have preferred Sheffield United purely for the reason that they had Chris Wilder. Now, he's not the most attractive of coaches that I think foreign players will want to work for. Regis Labrie is completely different. He has a good reputation. Sunderland have got a huge fan base. It's a lot more attractive. And he's been able to attract Diarra. Now, albeit they paid a lot more than we were offering. So maybe perhaps that's the deciding factor. But still, in the Premier League, I think sometimes the coach does have an impact. Money obviously is important, but the coach also is important as well. And I just sort of think what I don't want us to do is to sort of to go after targets that are not attainable. If we have to pay top dollar, we've got to pay top dollar. We have to stay in this league. But the key is it's signing the right players. Now, I think Diarra would have been the right player because I think he fits the profile of a Premier League midfield player. So I think we've missed a decent one. We have got sort of decent players in the midfield, but that were championship midfield players. So it's a little bit concerning at this moment in time. But it's early doors. You alluded to it. There's a lot of variables at the moment. There is a tournament going on. A lot of clubs are waiting until the 1st of July because of the sort of PSR. So there's all sorts of things happening. But Liverpool have certainly done great business. I think it's important for clubs like Leeds, Burnley, Sunderland as well to do shrewd business. That's the difference. I think for obviously Liverpool, it's a different journey that they're on. For us, it's just about staying in the league. So I'm just hoping the player that we've signed from Slovenia, he's exactly the type of player that keeps you in the Premier League because he's solid, he's no nonsense. He's a defender who likes to defend. And I think we're going to be doing a lot of defending. So it's a good addition for a good price as well. You talked about the FIFA World Club Championship. It's a sort of mute point with a lot of fans. A lot of people sort of talk about that there's too much football, but whenever there's an extra tournament added, especially if it's a lucrative tournament, clubs tend to sort of rush to play the tournament. Now, I just did a little research on this. I think that the team that will win will pick up over 100 million. So there's a lot of reasons why it's quite an important tournament. But is it something that really now is getting to a point where it's ridiculous because the season is never ending. And it purely seems to be clubs, especially the big ones, are chasing the money. Wherever the money is, they'll go. They complain about too much football, but when it comes to money, they'll always play. So what's your thoughts on the tournament and maybe generally the thought about clubs mourning about too much football, but when the opportunity presents itself to make a lot of money, the clubs will go?
Yeah, absolutely. You've summarized it perfectly there. If we can just talk about cricket, because I sense cricket to some extent had the same issue and still have the same issue. I think they're slowly getting to grips with it, but it's a different dynamic, isn't it, Europe, in terms of cricket, because there the money tends to lie, originally tended to lie with, in a sense, you're playing for your country originally. And then obviously with the advent of the IPL over the last couple of decades, that's really taken hold, hasn't it? And it's now become a permanent fixture, not least because India are the most important cricketing nation in terms of bringing dollars to the table. But it's now become a permanent fixture. Huge fees being paid for players. Players want to participate because it's life-changing sums of money. And cricket has never been as lucrative as or as has football been. So when you get a competition that's going to throw again life-changing sums of money at you, players want to play. You remember famously, obviously, Kevin Peterson had a huge bust up with England in terms of him wanting to participate and for England to accommodate a gap in the calendar so that he could play IPL cricket. This caused a major issue. Now, you have this in sports. I think the Club World Cup for me, Ayub, is a bit of a fork in the road moment, if you ask me. Now, look, this is all to do with money. You're absolutely right. This is a cash grab. You've got international competitions that take place at least every couple of years with the Euros and the World Cup for this part of the world, or I say this part, the European part of the world. And then you've got obviously Copa America and others in terms of the other continents, right? In terms of from a nation or national perspective. Now, to have this Club World Cup, which was, I think, previously played, let's say, in January or what have you, by one participant, to now expand the tournament and for it to take place in the summer, for me, is it's ludicrous. It's absolutely ludicrous. Now, it's always difficult to prove, or it's always difficult to prove in a sense a non-event. If one of your players who's played in the Club World Cup, let's say Moses Caicedo or one of the City players, whoever, Nathan Ake, or whoever's there from Man City. Again, I'm paying no attention to this competition whatsoever. But if that player then gets an injury in terms of some muscular injury come November, December, it's difficult to suggest that, oh, that's directly linked to the competition that they played. It's always very difficult to prove those linear connections. But given how much these coaches and teams often complain about having to play too many games, you remember famously Rodri was one of the ones who famously spoke about how footballers need a break, rightly or wrongly. I think he's fine to articulate his views. He's a very articulate footballer. Ironically, obviously, I think he's kind of making his comeback in this competition, which is important for him because he's on a very different journey, isn't he? After a big injury, for him, this is needed. He's had a rest, or at least from a football perspective, he needs these minutes and games and intensity to slowly start to build him back up strength. So he's on a very different recovery journey. But for me, it just beggars belief, and it's hypocrisy at its highest. I mean, these clubs will, to your point, chase their money. If Man City or Chelsea get to the final, you're right, it concluded that they'll receive 100 million plus. So I don't want to hear from Pep Guardiola or Maresca about any issues next year about teams and clubs and fixtures coming thick and fast and injuries and we're playing too much football. I just don't want to hear it. And I'm okay. I'm not coming at it from a passive aggressive way. I'm just saying, look, you made your bed. I think you should just own it. Say, you know what, we made that decision. So we've got to live with whatever consequences come. So if their players hit a bit of a flat point, let's say in the summer or in next season, it could be attributable to a lack of freshness because they've played this competition. Who knows? But you don't want to hear it as an excuse because if you feel that strongly about it, you need to inform your higher ups, shall we say, to say, look, this is not a competition. We need to be playing it. I cannot, you, for the life of me, understand when you've played intense football for what is, let's say, if you have a European cycle or a World Cup cycle, that's a full intense season, then having to play a big major competition and then having another season. So that's 2 seasons fully on the go. To then input a third competition potentially of a Club World Cup where you're not getting a break, I just cannot understand it. Football is, people forget that it's not just a physical game. You'll remember famously Michael Owen speak about how now it's about how athletic you are. So now you've got this perfect mix. Before, if you think about the Italian teams that you in the 90s and what have you, in terms of strength and tactical acumen and all the rest of it. And then you think about, let's say, the Barcelonas and what have you, and there was such a focus on technical ability. Now it feels like in some respects there's this kind of mix between, well, you've got to be tactically astute, you've got to be technically adept, but you've also got to be incredibly athletic in terms of distances covered, in terms of stamina and all the rest of it. So you're now kind of merging all the different attributes that you need for that to then have that as an emphasis, and then to think also the mental challenges that you're talking big games down the stretch for not just at the top end of the table. I'm talking about even at the bottom end of the table. Can you imagine? I'm talking about trying to get up into the Premiership. You were going through the ringer. No doubt some of the players were going through the ringer. There's an emotional stress, isn't there, you that manifests itself into physical injuries in terms of the brain, the challenges that come with that. You need a down period where you just need a little bit of, as I always call it, nothingness. Just nothingness. You just need things to stand still, hit the beach, 3, 4 weeks, relax, chill, have a good time. I'm pleased actually that a lot of Arsenal players are doing exactly that. I want to see you just be relaxed and have a good time. to be playing football straight immediately after the season. Guardiola's talking about how he sees this as a pre-season to the new season, whereas most of us, I think, see it as a continuation of the old season because things never really stopped. I just cannot for the life of me understand it. Of course, I understand it from a commercial point of view. But the tournament for me has garnered no interest. I've not watched a single minute. I've not watched a single minute of any highlights. I hardly keep up with the results. I know Chelsea had a bit of a shambles yesterday. The manager went off because the game got suspended because of poor weather. I imagine this is one of the cities that's hosting one of the World Cup games or many World Cup games the next summer. So that bodes well, perhaps for summer of 2026. But apparently the game took 3 or 4 hours to finish or whatever it was, 4 hours to finish. He wasn't happy. Suggesting that this is the wrong venue. Well, you should have thought about that before you agreed to join. I mean, you're a custodian of the football club. You have a voice. You can't have it both ways. So yeah, look, it's disappointing. I don't like the competition. I don't fancy it. I think they're trying to create prestige when I don't think there's any prestige that can be given to it. You know this, Ayub. It's like it's kind of that first ball that loads on a test match cricket morning. It just has its own allure. It has its own. You can't manufacture that. You can't make a competition more prestigious than it is. And it's just a bit of a tacky tournament trying to bring some players, trying to get players to maybe join other clubs for a small loan period to really increase the, let's say, the high level nature of it, the pedigree of it. For me, it's a nonsense. I don't care for it. I wouldn't care for it if Arsenal join next season or the season after. I'll be just as vocal about it. It makes no sense for me. Football's hard enough. You need a rest. You need plenty of rest. And if football's getting to that point with last point, where various entities, UEFA, FIFA, they're not looking after the footballing game, if you ask me. What they're looking after is making sure that they get re-elected, making sure that they're taking games to countries where they can, let's say, create some additional income, whether it's through different footballing federations tapping into different untapped markets and all the rest of it, which is fine. I mean, all clubs do that. But I think it's getting to that fork in the road moment. I think there's way too much football, way too much being played. And at the highest level, you the competition at its highest level, there's always a price to pay for that. You need a break. The players need a break. Everybody just needs a bit of a switch off. And I don't understand why this competition is being played. I'm not one who's going to get behind it whatsoever.
Here. I mean, I've not watched a minute of the game as well. I mean, it's occasionally it was when Chelsea were playing, obviously more. I'd have the game on, but it's of absolutely no interest to me. But this is always going to be inevitable because we have a sport now run by businessmen, and this is a business. It's the purity is gone. I mean, it's a high quality product. Make no mistake, but you've got businessmen who obviously are looking at dollars, pounds, uh, and that's their primary focus. As we talked about, it's at over 100 million for the club that will win. That's a significant amount of money for a club. So if that's the motivating factor, I mean, I'm with you. I mean, I echo everything that you said. It's something is of no interest to me at all. But somewhere along the line, somebody, and I'm talking about either a coach or players, need to take a stance. As long as there is nobody taking a stance. Now, there is enough players who can. I mean, we live in an age now where footballers have a lot of power, coaches have a lot of power, especially those who are doing well. Maybe you choose your moments, but maybe a player who's obviously at the zenith of his career can actually say, "Well, look, enough is enough," and speak out. But they don't. I mean, it's almost as if it's they're enslaved to these owners, even though they're good players and they could probably speak out. They don't. I mean, we've talked about other issues as well, world issues. How many footballers talk out? Very few players speak out, and this is something which is important because it's a wonderful product, but. And it's these are not machines, and at some stage, the quality. I mean, if we've got, I mean, how many clubs? I mean, I don't know. Is it we've got Chelsea, Manchester City? There's no other English clubs. I mean, that's
No,
how little I know
yeah,
about. Yeah.
yeah.
So, I mean, these are two of our sort of Premier League clubs. Now, we talked about this last season, or I certainly have sort of said many times that it's been the poorest in terms of spectacle, the poorest Premier League. Now, these two teams are going to be physically tired. There's no getting away from it. There's lots of mileage in those legs. Now, They might have a rest period, but ultimately they're not going to be as fresh as some of the Liverpool players. Now Liverpool have strengthened. I think it's going to be a walk in the park. If I think this season was boring, I think next season, in terms of the top, I think Liverpool are going to be streets ahead. This is where they've got to understand what the priorities are. They've got to sort of say, right, the Premier League is really what our focus is. Now, I don't know whether there was any compulsion about being participants in this tournament, but if there was a choice, then really, as a fan, I'd be delighted if my club said, no, we're not going to chase the money. We're going to focus on the Premier League. So, Man City and Chelsea, these are two clubs that should be every single year competing for the Premier League. That should be their focus. I think now it just is it's as I said, it I one of the things about the Premier League is, I mean, I love the Championship. In a sense, it's almost old school. It's what football should be all about. I think we want to be in the Premier League. Make no sort of reservations here. I would rather Leeds were in the Premier League, but this is one of the pitfalls of being in the Premier League. It's not ideal. It's not great. Because of this very reason, it's very sort of money orientated. So it's I'm I'm hugely critical of this, but to be honest, I'm a realist and I know exactly the reason why these clubs have done what they've done.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. We can understand why it happens. We're not stupid. We can understand why it's going to be the case. It happens in all sports. Every single sport, this is an issue right now. At least the big sports that I'm following in terms of how do we get additional games. In American sports, it's the same. NFL had 16 regular season games, and it's a very violent sport. They had to work very hard with the players to try and agree to a 17th regular season game because of just the vast amount of income that they can generate through having one more game in terms of ticket sales, merchandise, sponsorships, TV deals, all the rest of it. They extended the playoffs or expanded the playoffs, I should say, in both sports, NBA and NFL. So it's happening everywhere in terms of trying to get additional product, let's say. And like I said, it's difficult to prove. I mean, you spoke about, let's say, the standard. That's, I guess, your opinion in the sense of 24-25 season. I think in terms of storylines, perhaps that was missing in terms of drama, in terms of let's say, the uncertainty of what you need, which is of sport. It has to be unpredictable, and it wasn't as much, let's say, 24-25, much to the credit of Liverpool and other clubs. But in the end, it's difficult because even as footballing enthusiasts and consumers, you and I would love to see football all the time because I find it very tedious right now. I mean, I'm looking forward to watching the Grand Prix in an hour and a bit, but I'm genuinely clinging on for some sport. It was a UFC event overnight. I mean, we miss it. But the point is, we also understand actually I'm okay without it until mid-August because I'm thinking that gives my club the best chance in a sense of getting a proper break, not playing too many internationals and going at it in terms of, to your point, the priorities for some of these big clubs. Now, Man City, I think, will be much improved next season. Ayub, I think they've had a decent Club World Cup, and actually, it's allowed them to bed in some of the new players that they've got. Shirky, I know, who's looked pretty decent as well, building some chemistry with Erling Haaland and what have you. So, for some of them, they may see it as, oh, actually, we could do with some additional games because to get these guys up to speed, and hopefully, we hit the league running. But I just can't get with it. It's a long season. I want my players to have a break. I think the manager's lie detector test would tell you the very same thing. We want them to have a rest. Heck, I want a rest, in terms of having to prepare and all the rest of it. So, yeah, I can't get with it. I don't think I'll ever get with it. And I wouldn't be surprised if at some point they do away with this competition. I've looked at some of the attendances. I know 6 or 7 games got suspended or delayed and all the rest of it because of weather issues and all the rest of it. Some of the attendances I've seen are incredibly poor. I don't get it. I just don't get it, and it doesn't make any sense. And like I said, major competitions will always have eyeballs, but I think you've got to be careful in a world where this sport is incredibly competitive in terms of eyeballs. I don't know if football needs to be a 24/7, 365 days a week sport. I think there is a window in the summer for it to naturally take a break so that we can all really ramp up again in August, and that'll probably bring more eyeballs. I think there is fatigue that kicks in. I'm okay having a bit of a break. I'm happy focusing on a few other sports. I'm sure it's the same for you. I think we all need a little bit of a break. I don't get it. I'm not with it. I just don't think it'll ever really catch on, to be honest.
Well, I hope it doesn't catch him. because no, but it is what it is. It's the modern world, especially the modern world of football. So, and on that note, I mean, we've had a little rant, or a little catch up. So we'll sort of do it again in a few days' time. I think really, it's always nice to see you, Oris. So have a nice Sunday. You're on your Jack Jones, so put your feet up, relax,
From
and
tomorrow, from
prepare for.
tomorrow, from tomorrow.
All right, okay. Well, have a great week. We'll sort of catch up pretty soon. And the viewers, enjoy yourself. If you're in the UK, if you're in the Northwest, it's going to be pretty hot. So cover yourself up. All right. Until the next time, take care. See you soon. Ta-da.